What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Saturday Movie Night. My name is Dave McRae. It is Saturday, May the 5th, 2019, 7:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those of you that are joining us after the live broadcast, this is Saturday Movie Night. This is a Patreon exclusive for level 2 and 3 on my Patreon. If you're part of level 3, you also get to vote on the title that you want me to watch. Once a month, I post 5 movies, and then level 3 patrons have at it, and they choose the one that they want me to watch. And then if you're part of level 2, you also get to join in during the live feed. So if that's something that interests you and you're not part of my Patreon, maybe you want to check that out. I don't know, it's up to you, whatever. But anyway, so yes, tonight I am watching The Fog. Now, obviously, as usual, you won't be able to see the movie while I'm watching it for obvious reasons. But if you have The Fog, John Carpenter's original from 1980, feel free to pop it in, whether it's on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever, pop it in, and I will let you know when I'm about to hit play and what is on my screen, and then we can watch along together. And what I will do is I'll give you my thoughts, running commentary live, no stopping, no restarting, just full-on real-time, and I'll give you my thoughts with what I see. Now, I haven't checked out this movie in a little bit. It's been a little while, but I remember it pretty well, and I know a fair bit of information, kind of interesting anecdotal stuff about The Fog that I also wrote down here to remind myself. So when I see it, I can kind of go, oh, yeah. Maybe it's stuff you already know. Maybe it's not. Who knows? How's the chat room going? Okay, we got David, Tabitha Short. Guillermo Medina is watching from Las Vegas, Sin City. Frank Riker, Darren Sands is here. Awesome stuff. All right, Darren's watching in 4K. Ow! 4K. All right, I'm watching it in just regular DVD. Old school, gritty stuff. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so let me go over to the, okay, here we are. I probably went a little darker, but that's just because I'm bringing it up here. Okay, so I'm hitting play right now. Now, the first thing that's going to pop up is the Studio Canal logo, okay? That's the first thing that's going to pop up. So the movie's not going to begin right away after I hit play, but I'll let you know when it begins. Okay, so I've hit play. The Studio Canal is the logo's coming up on the screen here. And let me just, 1 second here. Let me just do this and do this and do, whoops, almost do that. Okay, and then bring that up. And then the next thing that's popping up here is an old logo. Still on the logos, folks. Still on the logos. Oh. Hang on, we're back. We're back. Sorry about that. I don't know why we stopped. We're back. Okay. Crazy. All right, the movie is beginning. On the screen we have "It's all what we see or seem, but a dream within a dream." Edgar Allan Poe. How we doing? Are we okay here? The feed is all right. The feed was acting a bit funny there. I don't know what's going on. Weird. All right, Chris Baber is in the house. Good to see you, Chris. Let me just see here. Over here. The watch is on the far corner. This is great. I love this opening scene. Now, for those of you that don't know, this was actually shot on a soundstage in a studio. It looks like they're on the beach. They're actually not on the beach. This was shot on a soundstage, I believe, anyway, if memory serves. And then at the end of this scene, there's a great shot where they sort of pan upwards, and then you see the actual location in California where this is supposed to take place. Now, obviously, it's the fictional. In the movie, it's not a real place, but sorry, I'm just adjusting a few things here, guys. Sorry about that. Caught me off guard there. All right, there we go. Let me just go over here like this. Oh, 1 second. There we go. Okay, that's what I wanted. I wanted the chat up. Okay, sorry, I was having some problems getting the chat up. My apologies. 1 second. It's a little wider than I wanted it to be. So I'm just Doing some quick adjustments here, guys. I'll just take a quick second. The old man is still talking and giving the history on the legend that is about to be the movie. This is great. I love the mood. I love the way that they shot this. And, of course, this is Dean Cundey again. Dean Cundey, of course, DP on Halloween and Escape from New York. And did he shoot The Thing as well? I can't remember if he shot The Thing or not. Somebody in the chat will let me know. I don't think he did. But nonetheless, I love this. Tommy Ricknell says, just saw Endgame, need this rinse of disappointment. Oh, sorry you didn't enjoy it. Frank Riker says, I would expect Donald Pleasance in the beginning. Yeah, he could have done this. He could have done this. But this is some great exposition. And it's coming from a guy and the way he's talking like this. And if you ever watch any of the outtakes, he doesn't necessarily sound like that in everyday talking, you know. He's kind of like this, and you know, he's putting it. He's definitely exaggerating it just a little bit for the effect, and it's great. Really moody, and it sets you up as the viewer as well. So we're like, oh, okay, interesting backstory about what I'm going to see here. Here's the pan upwards, right? So we're panning upwards. There's a dissolve there, a cut for all intents and purposes that we don't see. And now we come upwards as if we've been rising the whole time, right? When really we haven't, because we're coming from the studio, the soundstage, into the actual location. And this is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. John Carpenter's The Fog. But I also like how quickly John Carpenter dissolves and we leave the fog up on the screen for an extended period of time. Very cool stuff. Now, this whole opening sequence, I've always really liked this whole opening credit sequence of The Fog. It's really moody and really atmospheric. Hey, there's the director himself, John Carpenter, for those of you that may not have known or caught this. If you know anything about John Carpenter, you probably do know that this is that is John Carpenter there. But indeed, that is John Carpenter himself. All right. Wait. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Now, this here as well, as he goes in to speak to the priest, I guess, this is all shot on a soundstage. Cundey did indeed shoot The Thing. Oh, okay, great. I thought he might have, but I wasn't sure. Cool. Yeah, him and John Carpenter worked a lot together early on. Look at young John spouting that mustache. Now, it's funny, this guy who plays the priest here, he does all of his scenes inside this church. Well, actually, there is a church, but they go between the church and the soundstage. Did you see that shot with him in the shadow on the wall as he's taking the drink? Isn't that awesome? There's not necessarily a need for that, but it's just a nice touch that adds that bit of extra mood and atmosphere. This is really nice. Love it. Ooh, that was a little loud. And of course, the wall has come apart, and he's like, what the fuck is this? What's going on, right? I love how simple The Fog is, too. When they were actually shooting The Fog, they actually had, for those of you that don't know, they actually had to go back and reshoot a lot of things and shoot some extra stuff because there wasn't a lot of gore. Carpenter and Hill really wanted this movie to be a classic, old-school ghost story. Now, I've often made the argument that the original Halloween is a ghost story as well at its core. But it's not a classic ghost story. I mean, obviously, there's a guy in a mask who's trying to kill people. This is your classic, old-school tale of a ghost story. And this was their follow-up to Halloween, so there was a lot of expectations there. There was a lot of anticipation around what is this, what are Hill and Carpenter going to give us now? because Halloween was such a sleeper hit. Nobody saw it coming, and this was essentially their follow-up. So there was a lot riding on this. You know, were they going to deliver their follow-up to Halloween? And they wanted to deliver an old sort of classic ghost story. And that's what they were doing. But there were a few movies that were coming out in and around that time that they felt they needed to, or the studio, I should say, felt that they needed to sort of up the ante a bit. So they had to go back and they did reshoot a few things to add some extra gore and things like that. So anyways, I'm at the shot here where, I guess we're at the police station, I guess. Charles Cyphers' name has just come on the screen. Now, Nancy Loomis. Okay, you see here how it says Nancy Loomis, and you see that store? That store that you see there is in Laurel Canyon. I've been to that store. I had lunch at that store because it's changed a lot since. But that is a very famous location. Like Janis Joplin has played there in the basement of I think they had like a restaurant or bar there, something like that. Anyway, I've been there. I've also been to the bathroom there. I've been in there. That door behind that guy, I walked, I believe that's the door that leads into the basement where customers like me can go to the bathroom. So really cool. When I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I've been there. It's really awesome. Thanks to my girlfriend, by the way, because she's the one that suggested we go there. Not because of the fog, but because of the music history that lives there. And then, of course, I was like, oh my God, is this where they shot the fog? Pretty cool stuff. So Dean Cundy's name just flashed on the screen. Just let everybody know sort of where I am. This whole opening sequence is great. It's full of mood. It's full of atmosphere. It's very pensive, taking its time. You rarely see nowadays, for a variety of reasons, very sort of pensive, extended, drawn-out opening credit sequences. And again, there's reasons for that. Most credits now happen at the end. But this is great because it's allowing Carpenter to set the mood and the tone for this movie. You're really getting a sense that it's this small coastal town feel, right? You know, you get that vibe from the streets, from the emptiness, from the darkness. There's not a lot of hustle and bustle at night, right? Here's this lonely guy working the night shift, cleaning up, shit's beginning to happen, and it gives him an opportunity to actually lay out that mood and that atmosphere that I absolutely love, that I would totally be implementing if I was directing this thing. So I love that stuff. Like, this is a great opening credit sequence. It's drawn out. It's really milking it. But for a movie like this, that classic ghost story feel, it's great. Like, I love it, you know? And you get a real sense of isolation, which is nice, and weird shit beginning to happen. Like, there's this foreshadowing of this impending doom. So right now, I'm at the scene where the gas nozzle fell on the ground. It's leaking gas. The car is in the background, rising up on the hoist. That's where I am right now. It's just this great opening credit sequence. What's going on in the chat room? Let's hear. Chris Baber says the Cobra Kai gang will be on GalaxyCon in Richmond May 31st. Should be fun. Awesome. Really cool. Let's see. Frank Riker says great vengeful ghost story. Yeah, I agree. You know, it's not blood, guts, and gore. It's funny how they actually went out to reshoot things to step it up a notch. Hang on. Pause what I was saying there. Love this shot where all the car's lights turn on and the horns and shit. Love that stuff. Music by John Carpenter. I gotta say this. This is probably, and I sincerely mean this, Nancy Loomis, now Nancy Keys, is on screen. I gotta say this. This is one of the great horror soundtracks. Halloween is above it. But the music for The Fog is just, it's the kind of music that you don't have to listen to against the backdrop of the context. You can, but you can listen to it and it can be placed in a lot of different eerie, creepy stories and genres. And that's what's so cool about it. Not genres, but sub-genres for this kind of movie, like whether it's paranormal or eerie. It's a little dated now. You don't really hear those types of sort of synth now so much, but it's wonderfully moody and atmospheric. And finally, how long have I been talking here? Finally, we see directed by John Carpenter. Finally. It's crazy stuff, man. Then, of course, there's Tom Atkins, mustache-less. Let's see here. Darren says, Dave, I'm loving your research on this. Not nearly as impressive as your work on Cobra Kai, but nonetheless great work. I appreciate that. Well, I haven't seen it in a while. So it's starting to come back to me. You know, all the things that are beginning to come back to me. So it's, we'll see how I do here. Hopefully I'm not doing too bad, but it's fun to watch. I'm glad you guys could join me. Frank Riker says, John was the original Tim Burton with casting and crew rehiring. Yeah, I guess you could look at it like that. Tabitha Short says, the store definitely looks closed to the public, though. Well, I think it's because it's at night. And it's, like, I get the sense that is sort of really late at night. So, Jamie Lee Curtis has just gotten into the car with Tom Atkins. She's hitchhiking. Now, this scene here is shot, I believe, if I stand to be corrected, it might not be a soundstage, but they're not actually on the road here. They are in a garage, I believe. Is it a garage or maybe it is a soundstage? Anyway, I know they're not actually driving, and they're rocking they got crew members rocking the truck, and of course lights going over it every so often to create the sense that maybe there's a light pole that, goes by, or maybe another car maybe passes somewhere. But that's why you don't see anything behind them there is because they're actually not driving. And I gotta say, if you're on a desolate road like they are, okay, something's just smashed now, but if you are on a desolate road from a production standpoint, and there's really no reason to see the road behind you, I think to have more creative control on how you shoot and frame and set up, I think it's actually a good idea. Why not? Nobody's any of the wiser. Nobody knows. So why not just shoot it in a studio, right? Unless seeing the outside environment is important because of where you are. But if you're out in the middle of fucking nowhere, do it. Why not? Anyway, so now we're at the lighthouse now. Our first introduction to the lighthouse and John Carpenter's wife at the time. Ladies and gentlemen. She's great. Just turn this up a little bit. Good old Adrienne Barbeau. What do we got here? Chris Baber says this was Jamie Lee Curtis' first movie as a potential sex symbol. Yeah, maybe. I know from what I remember, Charles Cyphers on the screen, folks. Chuck! Good old Chuck. This is a very Halloween reunion. You got John Carpenter, you got Deborah Hill, you got Tommy Lee Wallace, you got Jamie Lee Curtis, you got Nancy Loomis, you got Charles Cyphers. Like this almost could have acted like the next installment in a Halloween anthology series. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you think about it, you have Halloween, cool. Who's to say that The Fog, it doesn't, we know this. But this movie could totally take place on Halloween, right? It's a Halloween ghost story. And you got some of the same actors back, which makes it kind of fun. You know what I mean? It's not. But I'm just saying you totally could look at it like that. Totally. Darren Sand says, the cleaner guy is the chap that injects Snake in Escape from New York. Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Thank you for that. Awesome. It's been a while since I've seen Escape from New York. I should throw that one up there as well. Now, this is cool. Did you guys see that shot of the boat? The establishing shot of the boat on the water? That was a miniature. Yep. It was a model. Pretty cool stuff. You wouldn't know it. It looks really good. Like, it looks good. There are some movies that you watch from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s where they use miniatures, and you're like, that kind of looks like, I hate to say this, but there's a lot of that in the original Superman movie, where I'm kind of like, I can tell that's a model. But that boat looks great. I think the boat looks great. Tommy Ricknell says, Adrienne is still beautiful to this day. She is. She's aged very well. It's primarily because of her bone structure. I think she's got some nice, bold sort of features. And if you have bold sort of features and you take care of yourself, you can age quite well. She looks good. Darren says Tom Atkins was the archetypal 80s everyman. Yeah, I guess so. I've never looked at Tom Atkins like that, but in some of the movies he's been in, that's a good point. So of course I'm at the scene now where we're still out on the water, and the crew is looking out through the portholes like, what is that out there? There's this weird fog rolling on in. This whole movie, like, the cinematography is fantastic. There's the model again as the fog, overtakes the model. That was done, I believe, with dry ice, I believe. I love the green glow. That's a reverse shot. They just reversed that with the fog going back into the compartment. Yeah, look at that. Look at the blacks, the darkness. The blacks are so rich. They're so rich, and it's wonderful when you can black out things in that negative space, right? And you can sort of, because then you're sort of tricking your audience and sort of suggesting to them that there might be somebody or something hiding in the darkness and the blackness that you can't see. I really like that. That's going to come up to play soon. Let's see. What do we got going on? This whole idea of being out on the water when this fog engulfs you and this weird boat that you've never seen before just rolls on by you. You're like, what the hell? Look at this. This is so awesome. Now, I believe, I stand to be corrected again, but I believe these were some of the reshoots. And Tommy Lee Wallace, I think, is the main ghost guy there. The main pirate ghost guy. I think that's him. That's awesome. Love that. Sword right through the chest. That would have scared the shit out of people in 1980. But see, not overly gratuitous, right? There's not a lot of blood. You see the stab. It's intense. Not so much intense now, but for 1980, it's definitely, intense. But it's not overly bloody or anything like that. But it's intense because you're also not seeing who these people in the fog really are. Like, what is this thing? They kind of look like weird creature. What is this? Awesome. Let's see. A lot of this was reshoots. That's what I thought, Darren. That's what I thought. David Ferguson says, I love the way the fog rolls in with the haunting glow. The movie easily stands the test of time. Yes, I agree. And it was he's going to get right in the eye. Oh, right in the eye. Ow. There's the model again. Yeah, they used, there were miniatures. There was dry ice, foggers, fog machines. There was a multitude of ways, not multitude, I'd say several ways that they used. Well, actually, you know what? Looking at Adrienne Barbeau, she doesn't have as many bold features as I thought she did. More cuter features, but she has aged well. Nonetheless, yeah, there was a few ways that they did the fog, and it was it's really cool. I believe the movie only cost like 1.2 million bucks, I think. Can we not super chat this forum? Oh, I don't know. The super chat is there. You guys don't have to super chat. I mean, you guys are patrons. You're already paying for this. So I don't expect anybody to super chat on the Patreon. But the link is there. It's not blocked out. I haven't blocked it out or anything, so I'm not sure why it's not there. But please do not feel free, or please do not feel like you have to. That's not what this is for, guys. Joanna from Canada just got here. Where are you guys up to? Well, right now, Adrienne Barbeau, her character, is looking out the window at that vast expanse of the ocean. That actually was shot during the daytime, and I remember that because that's actually the ocean during the day with a filter over it in post-production. because I was like, oh my God, this literally does look like nighttime. And that almost that glow, which is obviously from the sun, actually looks like it's from the moon. But you can't kind of see the moon because it's out of frame. I remember that because as somebody who really appreciates great cinematography, like that looks awesome. And because you can't see what's shining on the ocean water, it looks like it's moonlight. Really well done. I stand to be corrected, but I'm almost positive that was a daytime shot. Really awesome. And side note, Adrienne Barbeau does not smoke, or didn't smoke. I don't know if she does now, but I remember that too, because I'm a non-smoker, so that stood out to me that she was faking it. Let's see here. Tab the short. Dave, did you do some research before watching this tonight, or did you know all this from the last few times you watched it? I'm learning a lot from you. Thanks. Oh, I actually, when it comes to certain movies, I know more than others over some. When it comes to John Carpenter movies like Halloween, The Fog, Halloween 2, Village of the Damned, there's certain movies of his that I know a lot about, and a lot of interesting sort of tidbit details. And then there are others where I might have to brush up on it. So this is it's all kind of coming back to me now. If you had asked me about this without watching the movie, I probably would be like, oh yeah. But watching it, I'm like, oh yeah. So I haven't seen the movie probably in a couple years. This is the first time I'm seeing it. I was going to watch it this afternoon, but I didn't have time. I love that. It looks kind of funny, but it's so simple and so subtle. It's cool. Jamie Lee. She definitely, I do remember this too. I remember that she, after Halloween, she wasn't getting work. At least not the work that she wanted and the work that you might think because of how successful Halloween was. So John Carpenter thought that was awful and decided to cast her in this movie. And she was very thankful for that. That I know is true. That's out there in the pop culture. Tabitha follows up with great job with that ocean shot. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I remember I learned that a number of years ago, a long time ago, and I was like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, that's really, because you would never know. It looks like it's moonlight on the ocean. Really, really, really well done. So I'm just at the point now where Tom Atkins has gotten out of bed to check, what's knocking at his door, but of course it's 1:00 a.m., so the curse has been broken, and he's lucky because he was about to be killed. He's staring off. Maybe this is, maybe that is Laurie Strode, and maybe there is a connection to Halloween here. Forgot he's a Halloween guy too. Of course, this came out before Halloween 3, so at this time, Tom Atkins wasn't a Halloween reunion, because Halloween 3 did not exist at this time. This is a great, beautiful shot. I love the 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio. The anamorphic widescreen. Carpenter, I don't believe there's I guess I would imagine there would be. Maybe not, I don't know. But he loves shooting in real widescreen, cinematic, and it just shows up. And when you're doing a movie, when you're making movies, like I've often dealt this too or I've ran into this. I learned this from him, actually, not directly, obviously, but learning about John Carpenter. When you're shooting low budget movies, whether it's $1.1 million or maybe you're shooting a little short film on your own, if you can, lenses, depending on the lenses that you use, can really help make it feel bigger than it really is. Now, it all comes down to story, and that's the most important thing. And lenses isn't going to save a bad movie. A bad movie is a bad movie. But definitely utilizing different lenses and wide-angle lenses can definitely help create a scale to your film that wasn't there. And that's one thing I learned from him, because he talked about that. Most of the movies he did early on were very low budget. Halloween was very low budget, but it was shot 2:3:5:1. So it had this sort of bigger feel to it. You know what I mean? There weren't a lot of this and this and this and this, Really cool stuff. He really jumped into bed with... he did. That was quick. It was pretty quick. I thought that too. Darren says the kid is the boy in Halloween 2 who has the razor blades. I thought he looked kind of familiar. I can see that. Yeah, a couple of years older. Well, actually, not really. It'd be because this would have been shot in '79 probably for an '80 release, and then Halloween 2 was actually shot in '81 in the spring, I think, for '81. So yeah, maybe a couple years older. That's cool. Oh, wrong bottle of water. There we go. I like the creepy music during the daytime. Tabitha says, yeah, the Fog soundtrack is great. It's great. It is probably my second favorite. My favorite movie soundtrack of all time is The Green Mile. But in terms of horror soundtracks, in terms of scores, this is probably my second favorite. After Halloween. It's awesome. So just finished the scene where the little boy shows the Dane, the piece of wood to his mom, and now Tom Atkins and Curtis are on the dock during the daytime. I love that they shot this on a cloudy... Well, that actually might have just been circumstance. But it's cool that it's a cloudy day. Because it gives you a sense that a storm or fog or uncomfortable weather might be pending. So that's always cool too. Barbeau is insanely beautiful in this, Darren says. Yes, she is. She is. She was a hottie. Yep, absolutely. She was very attractive. John was a lucky guy back then. Let me see here. Scroll up. What are people saying? That's cool. So I'm at the scene now where obviously Janet Leigh has made her entrance. Psycho! And Nancy the keys! Nancy Loomis. I believe Nancy Loomis and Tommy Lee Wallace were either dating or married during this time. Because they dated for a bit. Actually, they might have even been married. I think they were married. That's so funny. Look at this station wagon. Reminds me of the Griswolds. Actually, that looks almost identical to the station wagon that Clark Griswold has smushed at the beginning of the first Vacation. The one he actually has smushed. That's funny. Michael Martinez says, Mezco has the fog a ton of figures. Oh, really? Cool. I'm going to have to check that out. Look how beautiful that expanse looks. Now, to be fair, the scenery is beautiful. So even if you were shooting that not anamorphically, or widescreen, even if it was 16:9 or whatever, I mean it would still look nice. But to have it, it's really cool. And I think this too, man, it's coming back. I think this might have been either the first shot of the movie they shot or the first few days of shooting. I think. But I might be wrong. Don't hold me to that. Tabitha Short says, Janet Leigh is dressed the same in the fog as she is in H2O. That's right. That's right. And also in Halloween H2O, there's the car that was used in Psycho, right? Was it the exact car that was used in Psycho? Or was it the same model? It might have been the same model of car. It might not have been the literal identical car. It might have been the same model to kind of, you know what I mean? But I'm not sure on that either. Chris Baber says, yes, remake sucked. 6 to 12 ball. What? Yeah. You guys must be talking about something. So I'm at the scene now where Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, and Tom Atkins are on the boat heading out to that boat where all that shit went down. The one thing I like about The Fog that I'm noticing here as well is that you're following the interplay of different... There's like 3 different... is it 3? 1, 2, 3? Yeah, 3. I guess 3. Different stories all happening at once, and then they all sort of come together at the end because of The Fog. And that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? And it's not that jarring. Like, it's not... one of the things that I always find when you're doing a movie like that is that you run the risk of maybe becoming more emotionally attached to a character over another, and then when you cut away from the character you really want to know about to a character you don't care about and a story you don't care about, you kind of lose interest. But with The Fog, that doesn't always happen. But with The Fog, actually, I find myself and have always found myself just as interested in everybody's story. But maybe that's because, oh, it's Nancy from Halloween. Oh, it's Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween. Oh, that could be part of it. But cool, nonetheless. We're following 3 different stories happening, and they all come together at the end. Chris Baber, sorry, Fog remake. Oh, Fog remake. Yeah, no, I wasn't. Funny enough, there were things about the Fog remake from 2005 that I actually liked. I haven't seen, I think I only saw that movie once, and that was probably about 14 years ago. But I remember thinking, nah, I still prefer this one. But there were a couple of things in it where I was like, oh, that was actually kind of cool. Ah, there's that great score. Okay, turning it down now. I don't want a copyright strike. Darren says Napoleon Wilson. Napoleon Wilson? Oh, are you talking about the... Oh, I see. Okay, yep, I get it. I believe the camera operator here... Okay, I don't want to say something that's not true. I love that haze that suddenly come on the lens. I think that is that's from the sun off in the tree. The camera operator operating the Steadicam here, I think, was the same guy that operated the Steadicam in Halloween. I think that was a nice shot. So they're going into a church. Look, when you shoot in 2351, this is a low budget movie, guys. It was low budget even in 1979-80. And there's a nice feel to it, and there's a nice, the way the camera moves and comes over. It's really good stuff. Nice church. That's a real church, by the way. What you're seeing right now is not a set. That's an actual church. I forget the locations. It's all in the LA, California area. Oh, here comes the guy. Oh, there he is, out of the darkness. It's awesome. Love that. Joanna from Canada says, is anyone watching this on Blu-ray? Is it much different than DVD? It probably will be a little different. I'm watching it on DVD, and I think it looks great. I don't think it doesn't look bad at all. 4K probably looks amazing. Blu-ray probably looks amazing. But DVD, it looks fine. I like watching old movies in their gritty sort of, kind of feel to them, but it looks fine. But Darren is watching on 4K, so it must look amazing. Janet Leigh looks amazing here, Darren says. Yes, she does. She looks great. So I'm at the scene now where Father... what the hell is his name? Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Father... Somebody will tell me his name. Father. He's reading from the book to Janet Leigh and Nancy Loomis. I'm just going by their real names. It's instinctual. I want to say their character names, but then I'm talking about their real names. I always say their real names. I think it's because whenever I talk about movies and the movies they're in, Malone, thank you, Darren. I tend to talk about them from the acting perspective, so I'm always saying their real names anyway. I can't count how many times in the Halloween videos I've done on this channel where I'll mean to say Dr. Loomis, and I'll just automatically say Donald Pleasance, because it's just so ingrained in me. So I'm just like, whatever, I'll just go with it. I'll just say all their real names. But Father Malone, right, yes, he's reading from the book here, and this is cool. Can you imagine? It's a good story. It's simple story. And I believe it came to John Carpenter's, I believe was he on vacation or was he living overseas to me. And I believe he saw a fog bank rolling in. He might have even been in England. And he saw a fog bank sort of rolling in, and it gave him this idea, I wonder what's in the fog. Obviously there's nothing in the fog, but he was like, imagine that concept. imagine there's something in the fog that we don't know about, or something that's really cool. And I can't tell you how many that's how it happens, guys. That's how it happens. Sometimes I'll be out somewhere and I'll be like, imagine if there was, and I'm like, God, if I had the connections he had in terms of the studios, I put one in there. I put a few in. I put a few into a couple of people I know here in Toronto, and I had a short film made on an idea that I had. It was all right. I think I could have done better if I'd actually directed it. But that's a whole other video. Frank Riker says the whole story about being Leapers was a... Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it was nice. Of course, that ending shot, too, where the guy just goes like this to the camera and cuts off. And again, you don't see it. It's implied, but it works really, really well. David Ferguson says, just goes to show you don't need a huge budget to create a classic. You don't. No, it comes down to, the reason why this movie, it's a horror classic. It's a little horror classic, but its score is great. Its atmosphere is great. Its mood is great. Its story is pretty simple. Not a lot to it. It's a little dated now, right? If we're talking honestly, it's a little dated. You look at the effects, you look at somebody coming through the, it's a little dated, right? But it's that good dated. It's a real big product of its time, and it's a creepy little ghost story. And it's really cool. If I was to remake The Fog today, I would remake exactly this movie, bring it up a notch, but well below the levels of the sensationalism that was The Fog from 2005. Because I think that went a little too far. I think this story should be small and have that claustrophobic sort of feel, and keep it that suspense psychological sort of thing rather than just utilizing effects. That doesn't mean you can't do a few things, but that's what I would do. I would keep it really eerie and creepy, but bring it into the 21st century, but a little bit below in terms of the sensationalism of what they were doing in the Fog remake. I'm at the scene now where Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis are sitting in the bottom of the boat having that conversation before that guy falls out and scares the shit out of Curtis, which is about to happen here in a second. And shit like this too. Like, look at the cinematography. And they're on a boat and you see the light from above come in, come out, right? Come in, come out, to create the illusion that they're swaying, right? They're going like this. See, there goes the light, comes back, right? Because that's the daylight, right? Well, in reality, it's probably actually not. But I mean, that illusion that's created is fantastic. Oh, here it comes. The Scream Queen lives, ladies and germs. Ha ha ha. Joanna from Canada says Jamie Lee Curtis looks so beautiful. She is. She was very, and she looks good today. Like, you look at her today, and I'm not saying that I think she's hot today, but she's a 60-year-old woman. She looks good, classy, very classy. She looks good. But back in the day, yeah, she was pretty cute. Chris Baber says music and tempo made this very somber. It did, but it was a creepy and eerie too. There's that, it's almost mirroring the pensiveness of the fog, the thickness of the fog, that impending sort of, doom that's coming in with the fog. The fog's not rolling in at 100 miles an hour. It's insidious, right? And that's sort of where the music lies too. The music is very insidious in its nature in terms of that pensiveness and eeriness and ding, 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 do, 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 do. It's got that weird sort of, and the fog kind of or the music complements the fog, and that of course is all on purpose. That's a, obviously it's it's definitely to complement that. So here we are at the lighthouse. This is one of the most beautiful shots of the whole movie. And this is great. Now, the interior of the lighthouse is not the actual lighthouse. Now, maybe the interior of the lighthouse does look like this. I don't know. But when she goes inside and starts up her radio show, that's on a soundstage. They created that. Two floors, I believe, that's on a soundstage. They actually did. But look at that shot. Look how gorgeous that looks. That is so beautiful. And I love the way that Cundy is milking it. Loved it. Tommy Lee Wallace also was the editor on this movie. So he would have been working right beside John Carpenter as well. And to make that choice to linger on that shot is smart because it's so beautiful. You want your audience to soak it up. And this shot here, we're further down now as she's coming down. It shows you how long it is. And she's walking along here. Just gorgeous. The wind is blowing. That's real wind, folks, off the Pacific Ocean. It's just beautiful. And then she goes to the door, and very much like I did in one of my Halloween fan films, she goes to open the door, and then the interior we're seeing here is actually a soundstage. That's what I did in my little fan film there the night he came back, when my girlfriend is walking down the steps of the Myers house, right? It wasn't. The interior was a house here in Toronto, and then when she goes through the door, she's on the outside of the Myers house in Pasadena. So I love doing things like that. It's always fun to see if you can create the illusion and fool people. Tabitha says, kids nowadays won't know the originals unless their parents tell them about them. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you know what? The perspective is real. I mean, when we were kids, I don't know how, I mean, I know some of the ages of people in here, but essentially when I was a kid anyway, in the 80s, if I had to watch a movie from the 50s, it'd be like, oh my, like now as a 40-year-old man, I watch movies from the 50s and I'm like, oh yeah, like, yeah, because I can appreciate it because I have that perspective and I'm a movie guy. But in the 80s, if you told me I had to watch a movie from 1954, I'd be like, because it looks old. Well, kids today, if you try to get a 12-year-old, not everybody, right? Not everybody, but there's a lot of kids today that if you tried to get them to watch The Fog or Halloween or Elm Street, it'd be like pulling teeth. They'd be like, because to them, it's 30 years. This looks so old because they're used to the bum, 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 right? So you got to start them young. So I'm at the scene now where Janet Leigh's character is talking to Father Malone. Father Malone's in the foreground. Janet Leigh is just behind him. To his right, your left. Hey, Janet Leigh looks good. How old is Janet Leigh here? She might be as old as Jamie Lee Curtis is now. 1979, let's say 80. Somebody look that up. How old would Janet Leigh be here? 79, 80. So now we're inside. We're back inside the interior of the lighthouse. I love this shot where that board that says Dane on it begins to the water. That's a nice effect. That's really cool. And I love the flapping of the wind out there. See, what's really cool about this, guys, I got to say this. Now, you notice out the window, you see those, what are they, sheets or whatever, flapping in the wind. The only reason why those are there is because they're not really shooting in the lighthouse. So to create the illusion that they are in the lighthouse and that it's really windy outside and there's an ocean right there, right? They have something on the railing that's flapping in the wind because it creates that impression that they're still in that environment when in reality they're not, right? Cool. That's being blown by a fan outside. So this is cool too. And if you notice on it, it said 6 must die or something. 6 must die. And then it changes back to that just says Dane. Is it 6 must die? Is that what it said? That's cool. I like that. And then it changes back and it's like, what? Did that just, what? Really cool. I love that stuff. Frank Riker says, people forget I Am Legend is a remake of The Last Man on Earth was with Vincent Price. There's a lot of people that forget remakes are, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978 was a remake of an earlier film. Scarface was a remake of a 1930s film. List goes on and on. You're absolutely right. Oh, Janet was 53. Okay, cool. So she was much younger than Curtis. Yeah, she looks good. She looks good. Really good. The telephone! Hello? Boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka. People watching this after the fact who haven't watched any of my videos will be like, why is Dave doing that? You can smell the sea air. Yes! Yes, you can. And that's actually a real house. Not this, where Adrienne Barbeau is. Again, that's a soundstage. You see the hot spot on the clock behind her? See the hot spot there? That would be an external light that's shining on that. They did a really good job. It looks like they're outside. Oh, they might be. It looks like they're in the same location, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she was beautiful. Look at the hair, too. I love it. Ladies, you got to start wearing your hair like that again. I love how she gets into character, right? Her radio character. It's like, okay. Hi, this is Stevie. So, this is smooth jazz. Then she turns it off and she's like, fuck, because she's got to keep it up, right? And then we see that character break when shit starts to hit the fan and she needs somebody to go to the house to get her boy, right? She totally breaks character. But she has to. This lady is probably dead now. She looks like she's in her 60s here. She's probably dead. Maybe she's still going. I don't know. Oh, now we're in the morgue. Don't get stuck up. Did you see that sign on the fridge or whatever? This is a cool little scene. This, I think, was this not a reshoot as well? Or part of this I don't know if this whole scene was a reshoot. But I think when the guy gets up from the thing and goes out, that might have been part of a reshoot. Darren knows this movie really well. He'll probably correct me if I'm wrong on that. And he says, it's almost 1 a.m. in the UK right now. I'm drinking rum. Oh, and love the fact that we're all geeking out over one of my favorite movies. There you go. I just said that. That's cool. Frank Riker says she's in Halloween 6, Miss Blankenship. The same name. That's the same actress? That's not the same. Is it the same actress? Oh, you mean the same name? Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Michael Martinez says the guy was in Assault on Precinct 13. Yes, he was. Yep. So this is Napoleon Wilson from Assault on Precinct 13. Yep. You were mentioning that earlier. Cool. Joanna from Canada says, I'm so happy now that I finally set up Chromecast. I will never miss another movie night. Oh, cool. Well, welcome. Awesome. Frank Riker says, yo ho, a pirate's life for me. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. I don't know the lyrics, but I know the tune. Yes, this was a reshoot. Cool. Thanks, Darren. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, again, I'm at the scene now where, he's got a scalpel. Love this shot. Under the thing where the legs just come down. Very nice. And creepy. Very like Romero. Is it just me or does this scene have a George Romero Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead sort of feel to it. It's very much like what Romero would do. It's got that vibe and flavor to it to me. It's really creepy. Really well done. And then he just falls. If it was me, instead of just falling, because it does look like he misses her completely, I think he should have touched her and sort of looked at her like this, and she would have been like, ah, like this, and then he falls to the ground. Just so we could have that extra for the audience, right? Because you can still have it end the same way. Him writing the 3 and all that, and she's safe, nothing happened. But it looks like he just falls in front of her. And if it was me, I would have had him fall on her, look at her, and so we can get that shot of his face, right? And the audience would be like, whoa, you know what I mean? But as quickly as it happens, it stops, and he sort of slides off of her. Got to be careful not to touch the boobs, but you know what I'm saying, right? You know, and he just falls to the ground. And it's just like, whoa, whatever. Or maybe he does. Maybe he just goes right across her chest to make it seem a lot more realistic, you know? I would have done that. I've always thought that about that scene. I think that would have been just a nice touch. Just a little extra, because you're setting this up and then he just falls. And it seems for me a little anticlimactic. And I think if you had given it just that little bit extra, it would have been nice. Plays out the same, like it ends the same way. And nothing happens to her. She's fine. But they make contact, which is like, oh, get off me. You know what I mean? That would have been cool. Chris Baber says, I would love to hear Jamie's movies with the commentary by her husband portraying Nigel Tufnell from Spinal Tap. I would love to hear Jamie's movies with the commentary by her. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. That would be cool. I got to admit. Chris Baber says, Darren says, I'd pay money for that. Yeah, that would be cool. That's interesting. That would be cool. You're on fire tonight, Chris Baber. He's on fire. Hell, you're all on fire. Great chat room. So now we're back at the, we're at the police station or the bar here. Hang on, let me just move this out of the way. Oh no, we're at the bar. We're at the bar now. Joanna from Canada says, checkered shirts and voluptuous hair. That's right. I love all those shots of the ocean. Yeah. Frank Riker says, I took... Oh, you guys crack me up. So this is a cool shot here, I believe. So it's been stationary the whole time. Oh, if this is the shot I'm thinking of, maybe not. No, it looks like we're going to cut away. Are we going to cut away? No, he walks. So we've been fairly stationary the whole time, and then he's walking. This is a Steadicam shot, for sure. And then he sits beside, I was going to say Laurie, sits beside Jamie Lee Curtis. That was nice. Because that was a long shot. Not a complicated shot, but long. Jamie Lee Curtis's hair is like very Farrah Fawcett here, a little bit. But I guess that was the style, right? Late 70s, early 80s. Chris Baber says, Adrienne's voice on the radio was the inception of those ASMR videos. Maybe somebody should make a fog ASMR video. Darren says, it's been a good day for Dave's patron clique. Great horror hour earlier. Yeah, I agree. You guys have been on fire today. It's always nice when everybody can join in and our schedules all mesh together. Look at the fog. Look at the glow of the fog. And I love how Adrienne Barbeau even says, there's a glow to it, or it looks weird or something, right? I think she says. Glowing, that's right. Yeah, she says it. Love the practical effects here that they're using, because I think that's a combination of a miniature. When you see the fog, I think it is. That's so fun. Darren says, wouldn't wouldn't happen in 2019. Oh, it must be something. 1980 was a good year for below average looking leading men. That's true. That's true. Below average. Below average looking leading men. There's Charles Cypress. That green glow on his face from his car is similar to the greenish glow he had on his face in the car in Halloween 2. So that's kind of fun. There's a cool shot coming up very soon. I just remembered this. Where Tom Atkins and Jamie Lee Curtis are in a truck and they're in town and the fog is coming towards them and they reverse their truck. That's actually played backwards because I believe it was a windy night or something and they were having trouble getting the fog to come towards the camera. So what they did was in post, they just reversed it all. So it looked like it was coming towards it's really cool. And you wouldn't be any the wiser. If I didn't tell you that and know what to look for, you'd never know. I didn't know until, I don't know, 10 years ago or so when I found that out. Tabitha says, don't jinx anything, David. Oh, what did David say? This is an amazing standalone horror movie. No need for a sequel. I agree. I agree with that, actually. I'd rather see a really good, scary, moody remake than a sequel, to be honest. Unless you want to get a swan song together and let's get Curtis in there, let's get Barbeau in there, oh no, we can't get Charles Cypress in there, but we can get Tom Atkins in there. Because, well, I mean, Cypress is alive, but his character is dead. Or is his character dead? Maybe his character survived. Look at that old truck. Look how bright the light is in the car. Wait, it almost looked like I saw the dash light when they went by the camera. I think I might have seen the dash light that's illuminating their face because their faces are lit up like a Christmas tree. That might have been a goof, folks. Might have been a goof. But I can't rewind back to look at it right now because this guy has to play out in real time. Darren says, does anyone else think that that Cypress is a bit of a sex pest in this movie? Hey, kind of is. Kind of is. He's a little pushy. A little pushy, Chuck. Look at him. There's something different. It's Halloween. Everyone's entitled to one good scare. The lights go out now. Cypress is talking on the phone to Barbeau. You can see the fog rolling in behind him. Again, the cinematography in this movie is great. Like, look at Barbeau's face there. Look how dark it is behind her, but just seeing the light go across her face. It's beautiful. And again, it's not like this is proprietary to Dean Cundy. There's a lot of DPs that do wonderful work and would do wonderful work in this regard. But, Dean Cundy is somebody who understands a lot of these nuances that you don't see, that you did not see at that time. He was one of the pioneers of this kind of, one of the more modern pioneers. Obviously, you can go back to the 40s and the 50s and see a great mood and film noir cinematography. But Cundy is up there. Dan, what are you doing? Dan, no! Fuck, Dan. Oh, Dan. I love that shot, too, when he opens the door and then the fog, he emerges from the fog himself and there's this red light sort of shining down on top of him. It's cool stuff. Very moody. I mean, there's not a whole lot. It's dated. There's a few things that are a little cheesy in this movie now, right? Like, this is, it's kind of obvious. Like, that light is it's just a light back there glowing and illuminating them as silhouettes and all. I believe that's Tommy Lee Wallace, and all he does is pull Charles into the, I mean, there's just not a lot, but it's very effective. This movie relies heavily on a few of jump scares, which is not, it's not bad, and you forgive it because of how moody and atmospheric the rest of the movie is. When a movie is not very atmospheric, when the movie doesn't have a lot of other things going for it, you tend to rely on jump scares. But with a movie like The Fog, there's so much mood and so much pensive eeriness and creepiness through its, cinematography and through its lighting and through its music and through its pacing, and that you get jump scares, but it works because you're like, yeah, I expect it, because eventually something's just going to come out, because everything else is so tense. It's there's not a lot to not like about it. Definitely, like I said, it's dated, and you can watch this movie now, especially if you're being introduced to it for the very first time. It's a little pensive, it's a little slow for all intents and purposes. But it's rich with mood, and I love the idea of this lighthouse but this DJ broadcasting her little show to a little coastal town from this lighthouse that itself is sort of secluded on this cliff and this rock, and she can't get out of there because the power's out, and she's got to communicate, because it's got that small town feel, and I love that. They did a really good job of that. Tabitha says, "Oh, I love this part. The radio chick apparently knows the exact city street the fog is moving down when she's so far from the street." Well, let's just say she knows because she can see the fog rolling in, and she knows what's over there. Or like she knows, oh, that's such and such. I know what part of town that is, right? I know what part of town that is. The fog's going to be rolling in probably on, John Street and Ashgrove Street, and you know what I mean? That's how I always took it, was she recognizes where the fog is, and she goes, oh, I know where that is. I know the part that is. That's how I always took it, but I know what you're saying. Chris Baber says, Dan O'Bannon will be my adult film name when times get rough financially. Love the dramatic pause. Darren says, this bar was used in Halloween 3. Oh, that's the bar from Halloween 3 as well. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Got to utilize a lot of different locations and things, right? I love seeing this. The lights go out. I believe that's a miniature, and that's just little tiny lights going out. But it does the job. It's really well done. Is it just me, or do any of you guys find Nancy Keys now, but at this time, Nancy Loomis, do you guys find that and I have never met her. I'm sure she's lovely. I don't know if she is, but we'll say, it wouldn't surprise me. But she seems kind of moody, bitchy. I don't know. There's just something about the way maybe it's the way she acts or the way she approaches characters, or I don't know. I always found that kind of with Annie, and I kind of find her a little here in this movie too. She hasn't done that, but I just find her kind of, I don't know. I've always found that. I'm sure she's lovely. Nancy Keys, if you're watching, she's not. But if she ever stumbles across this one day, sick in bed with the flu, and she starts Googling fog commentary, Nancy, I'm sure you're lovely. So now at this point in the movie, of course, we're beginning to enter the third act, and things are beginning to sort of pick up, right? The power has gone out, and these three stories that we've been following are beginning the process of coming together now, right? Slowly but surely, they're starting to come together. Listen to that music. And you see the fog starting to engulf the house. Love that stuff. Love it. Love it. It's great stuff. See, now she's broken her character. She doesn't give a shit that this is Stevie Wayne. She doesn't care. It's about her son, damn it. I don't have... Get out of the house! Get out! David Ferguson says, I always had the hots for Nancy Loomis in Halloween. Did you? Yeah? Yeah, she was, they were all pretty. I mean, there wasn't a girl that was, you know, they look, even though Curtis was actually only about 19, they look like they're not high school kids, though. They look and sound and act like they're at least in college. Tabitha Short says she's nice, but didn't age super well. I've seen photos of her. Yeah, she does. She looks older, certainly. Not everybody does, right? We're all going to age, and we just got to keep our fingers crossed that we have good genes and we can all age decently. Frank Riker says, by rule, Jamie Lee Curtis should die by going to bed with Tom. Bunch of comedians in the chat room tonight, ladies and germs. Chris Baber says, Hal Holbrook is a tremendous actor. He was even great in Fletch 2. Fletch 2, my goodness, Chevy Chase. I like the Fletch movies. I should put those up on a Saturday movie night. He was in Fletch 2. I love this. Look how simple this is. It's a ghost story. It's simple. It's cute. When I say cute, I don't mean cute in a bad way. It's like, it's good. It's cute. It's awesome. You know, cute's not the right word. I just mean that it's so simple. It's charming. It's got a charm to it. It's like, yeah, it's fun. And when you watch it in 1980, this would have been very scary. So I'm at the point now where the little boy is hiding. The old lady has just met her death, and the hook is coming through the door. I believe John Carpenter even said that is Tommy Lee Wallace as well. I know he said that Tommy, I mean, he's not every arm or hand or body that comes through, but he was definitely playing a big part in that regard. Tommy Lee Wallace always tearing through doors and all sorts of stuff. Come on, kid! Come on! You know, if these ghosts weren't so fucking slow, if these ghost pirates weren't so slow, maybe, just maybe, they'd be able to catch them. They're too damn slow. Michael Martinez says, road games with Curtis. Tabitha Short says, Dave, you've made me purchase a lot of movies for these Saturday movie nights because I didn't own the ones we've watched and couldn't stream them for free. Oh, no. Well, hey, you know what? Hopefully, the ones you have purchased, you're like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm kind of glad I have it in my collection. Oh, so she says, so thank you. Okay, good. At least it was a good thing. At least it was a payoff. So, I like this whole scene here with Curtis the boy and Atkins in the truck. The truck is rocking back and forth, and you see the ghost pirates getting closer and closer to the car, and the headlights and the fog around them. It's very eerie. It's very eerie because you don't know. I mean, you suspect who they are and what they are, obviously because of the exposition we had at the beginning of the movie, and of course what Father Malone was saying as well as he was reading from the book. So you have an idea of who these people are and what they're doing. But the fact that you don't see them and it's just, I love, well, you guys know me. I love that stuff. See, look at Nancy here. Look at her just standing there off to the side. She's like, now, look in the background there. You can actually see in the background, that is Deborah Hill. That's Deborah Hill right there in the background. See, did you catch that? When Nancy and Janet Leigh leave frame and there's the guy in the blue jacket and there's a girl with him, that's Deborah Hill. There's also some cutaways of Deborah Hill as well because she was filling in, I think, like of hands and legs and things like that, I think. Unless I'm thinking of another movie. It'll come to me if I see it, because I'll know it. This has been a lot of fun to watch this again, because I haven't watched it in a lot, and a lot of stuff's coming back. I know there's a ton I haven't mentioned, but look at the fog. I love that. I love that illusion. The fog coming in like that. That's really cool. That's so fun. Darren says, Nancy did JC films in the main. Assault, H1, H2, The Fog. She was comfortably part of the group. Mary, Tommy Lee. Oh, yeah, for sure. She is. She hasn't done on-camera acting in a while, I don't think. But no, she was a good, at the very least, she was a good utility player, and she could fill a role that was needed. Her acting's not terrible. Her acting's fine. It's fine. She just was a little, I've always found Nancy to be a little, I don't know if wooden might be too strong of a word, but just not a lot of personality, not a lot of expression in her characters that I've noticed she's played. But, it's fine. She served the purpose of the character. Here's the shot I'm talking about. The fog coming at the truck, that's actually reversed. And the truck going like this, the whole thing is reversed. I think the whole thing is reversed. The truck might not be, but the fog definitely is. The fog is actually not coming at the camera. It was moving away from the camera when they actually shot it, and they had to reverse it in post to create that illusion. I always thought that was really cool. Always thought that was cool. She's a bit miserable, like you say. Yeah, she always appears that way. I don't know. Maybe she's just part of her personality. She's more introverted, not, she's kind of seemed that way. Now they're heading to the church now. So this is the moment, of course, because we only have about maybe 10 or 15 minutes left in the movie. This is when the whole thing is starting to accumulate, right? Starting to come together, I mean. Well, I guess everything has been accumulating up to this point, maybe I could say. But the three stories are about to all come together here. Because they don't necessarily know each other, right? They're just all going to the church because that's where they were told to go. Why nobody else shows up at the church, I don't know. Chris Baber says, the fog camera work always confused me. How so, Chris? There's the fog rolling down the street. It's Michael Myers. There he is. It's Michael Myers. But that's what Michael Myers is like, right? In the original Halloween, again, for all intents and purposes, he was like the fog. He was that storm or the fog, whatever, rolling in, right? Being insidious, moving in, That's how I've always seen the character of Myers in that original film. Listen to this music. Bum, 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 bum. Love it. They also actually, at the end of the movie here, when Adrienne Barbeau's character is up on top of the lighthouse roof, that's actually a set. They built that. She didn't actually climb up onto the lighthouse roof. Listen to that. Tick 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 bum 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 bum. Love that shit, man. You don't get that kind of stuff. You get good soundscape, eerie horror shit in movies, but nothing that's immediately identifiable. I could play some awesome horror soundscape for you, and unless it's got a really identifiable sort of hook to it, it could be from any horror movie. You play this, The Fog. Love it. The music in this movie is great. Like I said, my second favorite horror soundtrack of all time. This movie is just so full of mood. Seaside town. My sister Jill lives up in Schreiber, Ontario, which is about a 14-hour drive away from me, about a 2-hour flight. She's on the northern shores of Lake Superior, one of the Great Lakes here in North America. There's 5 Great Lakes for those of you overseas that may not know that. And these lakes are gigantic. Gigantic. Okay, like you can't see the other side. Fresh water, but gigantic. I'm sure you've heard about the Great Lakes. And if you haven't, look them up. Anyway, she lives on the northern shores of the largest Great Lake, which is Lake Superior, perfectly titled. And it's gigantic. When I go to visit her, I always think of the fog because it's a coastal, for all intents and purposes. It's not really coastal because you're not on the coast, but there's that vibe to it. You know what I mean? And we went out on a boat and they have islands and a lighthouse out there. And I always get giddy because I'm like, oh, I'd love to shoot like a fog-esque type of movie up here. Not necessarily the fog, but that kind of creepy kind of thing happening. Love that stuff. Makes me think of that when I see that. David Ferguson says, love the classic, great choice for movie night. Yeah, well, I put it on the list and you guys chose it. So, yeah. There it is again. Ticket, 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 ticket. Man, that's great. This has got some juicy shit. Tabitha Short says, I'm surrounded by the great. Oh, Tabitha, you would definitely know, of course. Yes, because you're here in you're in the area. You're only about a 5-hour drive from me. So definitely, if you live in Michigan or Ontario, you're certainly right in the mix of the Great Lakes. I mean, I'm in Toronto, so I'm right on Lake Ontario. And then, of course, we got Lake Erie. And then, of course, we know all about the Great Lakes, don't we? I love the hands that are coming through. It's this ominous, pensive, slow-moving sort of thing, but it's creepy and eerie. It's really cool. Love how he pulls out this cross. What the hell is that doing in there? David Ferguson says, a lot of great locks in Scotland. Yeah. But the Great Lakes, you should see some of the great, they're much bigger than any of the locks you have in Scotland. But the locks are really cool. Like the Loch Ness Monster. I know, I had to go there. Michael Martinez says, I want that cross. Yeah, that'd be cool to have. Of course, everybody would just think you got a gigantic cross on your wall and you're very religious. They wouldn't necessarily know that it's from the fog, right? Darren says, Tommy Lee's hands coming through the window now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tommy Lee Wallace did a lot of that. A lot of the hands coming through. I love how the fog... The one thing that I have always been impressed with this movie is that there's been a couple of moments where I'm like, oh, that's a fog machine. I mean, it's a fog machine anyway, by the simple fact that, well, that's how they're doing the fog. But the idea is you don't want it to... Oh, wait, I got to stop what I'm saying, because this is a great shot. Look at this shot. Father Malone holding the cross, looking out at the ghosts, the pirates. There they are. Look at the fog behind them, engulfing them, standing still. The one guy at the front with the red glowing eyes. Oh, man. Beautiful shot. The glow, the pulsating glow, right? He's walking slowly towards him. When he first sees them and it's all dark and they're just standing there with the fog. Oh, I love it. One of my favorite shots. Now yes. Okay. So this shot of Adrienne Barbeau on top of the lighthouse roof, when we see her... When we see the close-up of her legs and her feet, I believe that's actually Deborah Hill, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's Deborah Hill. Look at that red glow. I love it. He looks... I love the long hair. He looks like... just... Like this would be an interesting character. Like an interesting character on his own, to have like a figure or something. I'd love to have like a figure of that character, of that ghost character. That would be cool. That'd be cool. I'd love to have that. Rob Botton, yes. That's right. Tabitha says, I've already bought him a Michael Myers and Freddy Baby T size 12. Starting early. I love it. And if your baby is born on the 31st of August, 31, come on. That's awesome. So I'm at the scene now where Adrienne Barbeau is on top of the she's being attacked and she was just stabbed. There's Deborah Hill's hand and her legs falling towards this guy here. That might be, I don't know if that's Tommy Lee Wallace or not, but oh, the slime and the worms. That was an extra nice sort of touch to bring that extra ooh for the audience. That was cool. I love this shot, this aerial shot, bird's eye view from above of the pirates closing in on Adrienne Barbeau and the fog around them. I really like that. I like that a lot. That was good. Oh, Michael Martinez says Mezco has it. Oh, cool. Well, I'll have to look into it. I remember you saying that they had a lot of the fog figures. I'm going to check that out because that would be a cool one to have for sure. Frank Riker says, let's play Guess the Hands. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of cutaways and second unit stuff they did on this movie to have some fillers and stuff where obviously they did some reshoots too. Love the glow of the cross as well. I also like how everything just stops. Right here. It's coming. It's just immediately, it's just boom. And that's it. It's quiet. And they're like, is that it? I don't know. Because even though it's calm and quiet, there's this, it's an unnerving calm and quiet. Because you're not quite sure whether they're really gone or not. So it's almost like, are we okay? No, I can't. Is that? We've seen that kind of thing in horror movies before where they do that. And sometimes what they think is gone isn't gone. And sometimes it is actually the end. But I like how it's the nice contrast where it's kind of like, and your audience is like, I don't know. I don't know if I buy it yet. You know what I'm saying? So the ghosts, the pirates are nowhere to be found. They're looking across all the pews in the church, that nice bluish glow coming in, but everybody seems to be gone, right? Adrienne Barbeau lifting her head on the roof of the lighthouse. The fog is now beginning to subside and pull away, right? It's pulling away, you know? Very slowly but surely, but still very kind of ominous-like. I love the blowing through her hair. Adrienne Barbeau's hair, because I don't believe she's outside. She's on a soundstage. But that nice added touch of her hair blowing in the wind, a sense of eerie calm with John Carpenter's score underneath. It's nice. It's a nice touch. David Ferguson says, I love the way the film ends. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's coming up in just a few minutes. It's going away. There's some Halloween alumni there for you, all standing together. Joanna from Canada says, hairspray was sold back then, Darren. Oh, so how much reverse photography in this movie to great effect? Oh, so much. Yes. Excuse me. Yes, there's a lot of reverse photography in this movie. Yeah, and which would make sense. If the fog's not going in the direction that you want, but the actual shot, everything else about the shot is fine. The lighting, the composition, the framing. Yeah, why not just reverse it then? As long as there isn't anything else in the shot going the other way, you can reverse it and nobody's any the wiser. So yeah, I'd do it. It was a smart thing to do. Saves you heartache and pain trying to get the fog to go the right way. Now they would just digitally do it. This is a good little bit of monologue here from Adrienne Barbeau. I like that. Look across the water into the darkness. Look for the fog. I love that. For all the ships that can hear me at sea. Look across the water. Look for the fog. Look into the darkness. Look for the fog. Be careful out there. It's a nice moment. She did a really good job in this film. Adrienne Barbeau did. So here we are. We're coming to the very end of the movie now as Father Malone enters the church again. Everything seems calm, quiet, peaceful, or is it? And there's that shot of the pews and nobody's there, right? Nobody's there. And then he turns away and then something doesn't feel right and he hears something and he turns back and they're all there with the fog. You see the fog coming under the door? That's cool. He's like, oh, wait a minute. And there they are. Oh, I love that shot. What a great way to end this movie. And you think it's going to, oh, here it is. And listen to this theme. Listen to that theme that's playing. Got a lot of Halloween-isms in there, but it stands on its own as well. I love how Tom Atkins' name is Nick Castle. James Canning is Dick Baxter. Dick Baxter? Huh? That name was mentioned in the original Halloween. Well, Dick Baxter, you know, he'd go out with you. I'd rather go out with Ben Tramer. Ben Tramer! I didn't think you thought about things like that, Laurie. Yeah, I love that ending where he's looking this way and then he turns around and there, eyes glowing red, just takes that sword. And of course, we don't actually see it, but it is alluded to the fact that he's decapitated. So, anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. Those are my thoughts on The Fog, giving some real-time running commentary on probably my second favorite John Carpenter movie of all time. It's been a couple years since I've seen it, and it was really nice to watch it again with you guys, and just sort of give some of the thoughts and how I feel about it. Give some thoughts on what I remember about the production, which was really cool. I surprised myself. I remembered quite a bit because I was doing this off the cuff, and really cool to watch that movie again. Great movie night, guys. Awesome. David Ferguson says, good night, everybody. It's been a blast. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, David. Take care. Michael Martinez, take care. Michael, Frank, take care. Tabitha, absolutely take care. Tabitha says, looking forward to tomorrow night's Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Actually, Tabitha, Two Dudes and Some Bullshit will actually be Tuesday night this week because tomorrow is Mother's Day. So last week it was Tuesday, and this week it will also be Tuesday as well. It'll be May 14th. And then we should be going back to the regular Sundays, but we've had to juggle some things around. So there is no Two Dudes and Some Bullshit tomorrow night. It will be Tuesday night where Tony and I talk about Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. So yeah, Darren says, I think we should do this with a really bad movie. It'd be great fun, and Dave's great with things serious. You know what? I'm going to compile a list of some really bad movies and put them up for Saturday movie night. Maybe that'll be our next Saturday movie night. I like your thinking. And to everybody joining after the live feed, thank you for watching. Much appreciated. I hope you are doing well. That will do it for me on episode 8 of Saturday Movie Night, and we'll see what the next episode brings. Alrighty, guys. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.